Hello, welcome to How People Learn. I'm partner 2, so this is my presentation. And so in this presentation, I'll talk about two styles of learning environment, assessment and community. So let's just jump right into assessment learning. So assessment-based environments, and this focuses on the learning environment, which emphasizes revising, critiquing, and explaining materials through assessment. And there's actually two forms, which is substantive and formative, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But first, let's get into why assessment learning. Why do we need assessment learning? Experts have found that assessment is extremely important to early development, and assessments help foster understanding. Assessments are needed in schools so children are kept accountable and they can learn from their mistakes. That's really the important mold, and that's where the current system may be lacking a little bit. So first, effective teachers. How can effective teachers use the knowledge of assessment learning? Well, first, they can learn from their students. Assessment learning isn't only for the students themselves. Teachers could write a test or write an assignment that no student understands, and then they know that they're not teaching it correctly because obviously the students haven't learned it. And they can also, and students then, and teachers can build skills of self-assessment. As I said, they can both reflect on what they need to know and how they can do better. And this gives students time to reflect. Students are able to learn from the knowledge that they didn't have or that they messed up, which is really important in learning these days. And the chapter really shows the importance of why students need to learn. But first, let's get into substantive assessment learning, which measures what students have learned at the end of a unit, a class, or a year. So these are created tests at the end of a unit, grades on a report card, or state-run testing. So they're just kind of tests where you'll never really know the responses. Like on a report card, you'll know how it ended up, but you can't change it. There's nothing to learn from that. You got a B in AP World History. You can't learn from that experience. Formative, though, is assessments that can provide feedback and lead to self-reflection. So this is if you wrote a paper and a teacher gave you all this corrections, like a draft, and you could go through and reflect on this. Formative assessments break the rule of what effective teaching is because students are allowed the time to really reflect and learn from what they didn't get right. And currently, the system emphasizes memorizing, which just isn't as effective because if students memorize something, that doesn't mean they learned it. They just learned the facts for the class. For example, so in a history class, a student might know that in 1452 Constantinople fell, but they don't really know what that means. They don't know what Constantinople is. They don't know that it was currently held by the Romans, and that the Ottomans seized the city, which created an entire power vacuum, which led all the way into the 20th century with the Ottoman rule. So now, the formats of assessment learning. So technology is really helping this. The fast response of technology allows teachers opportunities to write assignments that can give them assessments, that can give students opportunity to really learn. So here's an example. So this was right out of the chapter. And so really what you need to look at is not the questions themselves, but the last sentence of each. So in first question, how much work was done by friction? In question 2, find the ball's final velocity. In the first question, all it's asking for is an equation where you plug in the numbers and get the answer. So that doesn't really allow any feedback because it's whether they got it right or no, or right or wrong. Whereas in question 2, you have to show your work. You have to go through a different calculation, which then the teacher can show, oh, this is where you made the mistake. This is how you do it in the future. And then example 2 is portfolios, because these keep track of students' progress throughout the years, which are vital because students can see how they've learned and how they've grown, which fosters self-reflection. So moving into community-based learning environments. This builds a community in a classroom to make an environment where students can share ideas and learn from one another. So this is what Common Core is really going for. And in a classroom, social norms, making mistakes. So currently making mistakes is students don't want to raise their hand, they don't want to speak up because they're scared that they'll get it wrong. Because that's what the the current system really emphasizes right and wrong, whereas in a community-based system, students can learn from mistakes. Everyone in the classroom learns from a mistake. And going off that, asking questions, students aren't as aware and don't want to ask questions. And in another one, gender. Girls just aren't promoted in the STEM field, but in a community system, girls can try whatever they want. They can go for the STEM field in mathematics. Participation goes off of the earlier 2 points, and then grading. Currently in the system, it promotes competition just for that grade. And different practices and different grading, especially in the book, it talks about this example of 2 Native American high schools and how they grade differently. And how it's kind of unfair that at one school is easier, even though it's the same curriculum. A community system levels the playing field and students can learn from each other. And then borrowing from the world. Japan, in their system, if a student raised their hand or make a mistake, they talk through the problem, which allows discussion with the whole class. They're all able to learn from one another, which is really vital. And then the connections of community, the broader connection. Currently, the classroom feels like a waste of time for students because it can't be applied. Like the Pythagorean theorem. They don't know how to apply that at home, whereas the skills they learn in the house can be learned, like how to do laundry. You have to do that all the time. And just like this, in the time. So schools, this is a typical school day during the year. School is only 14% of their day. 53% is spent at home and community. They're going to learn more. They're going to learn stuff from there. And it's important on a community-based system that they bring that to the classroom to show what they've been doing and what they've been learning. And then family. Family provides learning, especially at a younger age. The article talks about the ages from 3 to 5 really being that hot spot. Students can learn so much, and they have shared experiences with their family, which then they can bring to the classroom and show other students. Like if they learned how to build a desk, they could show another student in their class how to build a desk. Anywhere can foster learning. Your neighbor next door could show you how to fix a flat tire. Anything is possible in the world. And it's important that us as educators realize that they can learn other stuff, and that information is vital for everyone to learn and everyone to benefit from. And new technology is really helping this community-based system because you can learn anything from anywhere at the click of your phone. It's kind of insane. That's why communities. So this were my 2 chapters. I hope you enjoyed listening. I tried to sum it up as best I could. I think I did like a minute per page. So hope you enjoyed it. Hope I didn't mess up too bad. Yeah. All right, thank you. This has been How People Learn, Partner 2.